Hind leg feet, aren't they delicious? So this is going to be the little bit at the back of the bunny. It's so hard to show you because the camera's so close, but it's those little bits there. Now they are just sort of straightforward knitting really, so I don't think I will knit them with you. If you get tremendously stuck, drop me an email and we'll have a chat about it. But you're going to make two the same. Okay, so you're going to make two the same, and I believe, yes, you are going to start with the cinnamony one and work up into cream and pink. Gosh, I can't even speak today, I'm so sorry. So you can do increasing, you can do decreasing. You don't need to watch a 10-minute video of me making these. Again, when you sew them up, you will be using mattress stitch, just as we've done on the front paws. So what you're going to be doing, I'll just show you quickly. You will be folding in half, wrong sides together, always wrong sides when you're mattress stitching, to pull the edges together, and you are going to sew all the way around, mattress stitch all the way around, and then stuff the paw and I think probably sew it shut. So let's have a go at that and see what it ends up looking like. Right, we're going to sew the back foot together using mattress stitch, and we're going to sew it from the lighter edge or the cast off edge down, ooh, come back, down through the darker edge this way up. So you want to have the work this way up, and it sort of curls in on itself nicely anyway, but all you're going to do, just make sure all those ends are running up and away, because we're going to use those to stuff the foot, so they don't need to be cut off, but they do need to be out of the way. And we're just going to hold it or roll it so that the very outer stitches are together, because we want that guide for doing our mattress stitch. I've just got a length again of cream here. It's not necessary to match the yarn because it will be invisible even into the cinnamon part, so that's fine. And the first thing I'm going to do is just attach the yarn at this left edge. Just go over a couple of times, so nothing fancy or anything, just a couple of stitches or a stitch just to hold the yarn so it doesn't go anywhere. And I'm going to try and use, like I said, the outer edge stitch if I can as my guide, and then look at between the outer edge and the next stitch in to find and I'm just using this as an example. If I put my needle under there like that, the bars that run between the stitches, okay, and if I go in here, you can sort of see them. It's fluffy, so it's hard to see, but on your own work, you'll be able to see it. Just about see them there, those bars. So those are what we're going to be looking for as we work up this piece. So I'm going to come over to the right and select a place to start, and to be truthful, if you leave gaps you can go behind and fill in, but let's try and do it nicely. So I'm going to start in there, and you can see I can get my needle under a bar there, and I'm going to just bring the yarn through. I've made a little bit of a mess at the end, but that's okay, that will disappear. And then I'm going to come back over to the other side, and it's kind of matching partner stitch, which is about here, and find, can you see that bar just about, oh of course you can't, I'm off the screen, and find its partner stitch, which is about here, and find the bar between it. It's so fluffy, it's really hard to see, but again, like I said, on your own work you'll know exactly what I mean if I just keep saying bars between stitches. And then I'm going to pull through and give it a pull and pull it together. You don't have to zip it all the way tight or pull it all the way tight just yet. If it helps you to keep it a bit looser so you can see where your yarn is coming out of, that's absolutely fine. So I'm going to go back in precisely where my yarn came out, and I'm going to go actually crossing a stitch here, which is not ideal, but we've got a slant going on, so I'm going to come up and through that one. When you're working straight pieces of mattress stitch, this will not be a problem because you will simply run up the same line of stitches all the way from the bottom to the top. But if you're on a slant, you've got to just go with it and it will be fine actually. So I'm coming back across to the other side and looking for where my yarn came out and going back in and picking up another couple of bars and going up, and that's what I'm going to be doing all the way up this little paw. And as I go back into where the yarn came out and find the next couple of bars, as I do that, you see how my yarn is kind of crisscrossing across, going back in where I last came out, picking up a couple of bars. Once I've done in a few, just hold it that way up. If I just give it a little pull, you can see the crisscrossing. I give it a little pull, not too tight because it will break, but if I give it a little pull, tighten that up a little. Oh, it does become sort of invisible. I'm scared to really pull this because I don't want it to break, but it just will pull the edges together. And you won't really see a join, so that's fine. So that is the aim of mattress stitch. It is tricky on cast off edges where you've got decreases because the outer edge stitch always changes. It doesn't follow a line, if that makes sense, but if you just kind of try and follow that decreased edge and pull up between those stitches, you'll get a reasonably invisible seam closing. It kind of folds folds the sides in and hides the stitching. It's very clever, and I liked closing this one. I've already done one here because you've got a very clear guide of where things should be lining up. Can you see I should be lining up here because my colours change, and then things become a little easier because my decreases taper off a little. I've turned it to the side here now because it's a bit easier to work that way, and you can see that that is a practically invisible seam. So let's do a little bit more, just finding where the yarn came out, putting my needle under a couple of bars, pulling up, coming back over this side where the yarn came out, putting my needle under a couple of bars and going over where the yarn came out, a couple of bars, and so on, all the way to the top. Don't leave it too long to zip up. If you've got a cotton yarn, you can leave it a while and it's magical. But with a yarn like this, it's liable to break. I do it every few stitches, and if you notice there, I've just given it a little pull. Look at that. Amazing. So do that all the way up, and then when we get to the top, when we get to this corner, we'll stop and do a little bit of stuffing. Right, so I'm all the way at the top. The seam is closed almost invisibly. Amazing. And I've got all these yarn ends, and I'm just going to poke them down inside the foot, and that will act as pretty much all the stuffing we need. You might want to pop a little bit more stuffing in. Keep this needle and yarn attached because you're going to use that to sew to the body, although we're not going to be doing that just yet. Do that right at the end. So poking the yarn ends down inside. Again, be careful if you're using scissors. Please make sure they're sort of blunt end scissors. Chopsticks work brilliantly. Whoops. The wrong end of a crochet hook also works brilliantly, or as I like to call it, the handle. The wrong end. The handle. Something that's not too pointy. But for now, I've just got my scissors available. Okay, so there is a little back foot. I'm leaving that edge open for now, and leaving the yarn attached because we're going to use that to sew it onto the main body of the bunny a little bit later. But for now, two lovely back feet, and I will mould them so that they kind of match a bit more than they do at the moment, but those are the back feet.